Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
The folks over at Reason.com are doing a great job on some of these stories. And Paul sent me this, and Steve, check this one out. This one will boggle your mind. Cops thought sand from a stress ball was cocaine. As a result, its owner spent nearly 6 months in jail. We've all seen those stress balls. It's a rubber thing that you squeeze, and the joke is that you keep it in your desk and you get upset about something, you pick it up and you squeeze it and you let some of your stress out. And they're just a novelty item. But some people carry them, keep them in their desks, whatever. And somebody apparently thought, hey, look inside this thing. There's something in there. That must be contraband. And by someone, I mean the police. So now an appeals court has ruled that the police who arrested her for that are not entitled to qualified immunity from her lawsuit that she filed. So CJ Cermella wrote the story for Reason.com, and he says now you can add stress balls to the list of innocuous items that have landed innocent citizens in jail due to bad police work and unreliable drug field tests. You'll recall there's a story not so long ago where somebody is traveling and the police found a box filled with some kind of powder and said, "What is this?" And the guy goes, "Those are the ashes of a deceased relative." And the police officer said, "No, I believe this is cocaine." And they tested it and they claimed it tested positive. So it's probably shoddy police work. We're not sure if it's in the form of bad tests or bad test procedures, or if they just claim they got a good result when they didn't. The U.S. Court of Appeals in the 11th Circuit ruled recently that these two police officers in Atlanta who did this will not get qualified immunity from the civil lawsuit filed against them by the woman who owned the stress ball. She says the officers falsely accused her of jaywalking. And then after they found the stress ball, they charged her with trafficking. So she was jaywalking, they say, and then trafficking the contents of the stress ball. They say this is based on a field test of the powdery substance they found inside the stress ball. She spent nearly 6 months in the Fulton County Jail because she couldn't afford bail and told local news outlet NBC 46 that she was occasionally put in solitary confinement. And what's worse is she was left in jail for 4 months after the crime lab concluded that the mysterious powder inside the stress ball was in fact sand, not cocaine. So the preliminary field test is kind of like a preliminary breath test. So if you fail the preliminary test, they usually say, okay, we're going to take you into custody, and when we get back to the station, we're going to send this stuff off, whatever it is, or we're going to do a better test on you if it's drinking and driving. But the better test will then reveal the truth. So apparently, they sent the stress ball and its contents to the crime lab. The crime lab said, no, this is sand, and they waited a few more months, 4 months, before they decided, we'll let her out. According to the court's opinion, the two officers stopped the woman in October of 2015 as they said she jaywalked. She claims she wasn't jaywalking. So, that's something you could fight about in court. Were you jaywalking or not? But in any case, the officers took her to the police station and proceeded to cut open a stress ball they found in her purse and test the powdery substance inside using the NARC-2 field test for drugs. And I can't believe they stole that word. Every now and then I use the word narc as both a verb and a noun. You can call somebody a narc if they turned you in, and you can say they narked you out as the verb. So apparently this company calls their field tests the NARC-2, Roman numeral 2. And it, as Reason reported earlier this year, such drug field test kits are manufactured by several different companies and are used by police departments and prisons across the country. The test kits use instant color reactions to indicate the presence of certain compounds found in illegal drugs, but those same compounds are also found in dozens of known legal substances. And although the tests are fairly simple to use, they're prone to user error and misinterpretation. And so that's the problem. The thing tested positive on sand. Last year in Georgia, for instance, a college football quarterback was arrested after bird droppings on his car tested positive for cocaine. Now, we don't know if the bird was on cocaine or not, but they later said, oh, it turns out those are bird droppings. Bird droppings. And the man was, at one point in time, arrested because they said, well, this material we found in the hood of your car tested positive. And of course, I'm assuming the bird did that after he washed the car, but that's another story altogether. A Florida man was wrongfully jailed in 2017 after a field test confused his glazed donut with meth. Now, you'd think police officers could identify the glaze from a donut in the dark from 100 yards away, but no. They said that the test kit said this is meth. In 2016, sheriff's deputies in Monroe County, Georgia, arrested a resident there after a search of her car turned up a plastic baggie of blue crystals. A field test of the substance came back positive for meth, and she was charged with trafficking and possession with intent to distribute. Sat in jail for 3 months before the state crime lab came back and said, oh, that was actually cotton candy. So 3 months in jail on trafficking charges, but never tried, of course, because the crime labs came back and said, no, it's actually cotton candy. It's something that they sell pretty much at any county, state, or local fair you go to. A follow-up investigation by a Georgia news station found that the NARC-2 test kit produced 145 false positives in Georgia in 2017. 145 false positives in one state in 1 year. You might do better just, drawing straws or something. Last year, more than a dozen Massachusetts attorneys said they were falsely accused of sending drugs to their incarcerated clients, who were then put in solitary confinement for receiving legitimate legal mail. One way that synthetic opioids are smuggled into prison is by soaking papers in the drug. A class action lawsuit followed, challenging the Massachusetts Department of Corrections' use of the NARC-2 field test kits to detect contraband and punish incarcerated people. Now, the woman who was accused of jaywalking with the Stressball and the Atlanta officers also dispute the results of the field tests. The woman says that the officer huffed and puffed as he conducted multiple field tests on the powder, none of which changed color. He testified that he performed 2 field tests by simultaneously breaking the 3 glass ampules inside the test kit and shaking it. Both tests resulted in the liquid turning a bluish purple, which the officers interpreted as a faint positive. Now, the 11th Circuit's opinion notes that the 3 glass ampules inside a NARC-2 test kit are supposed to be broken sequentially, not simultaneously. That doing the simultaneous thing would not result in a meaningful result. It also notes that only a pink over blue color change is considered a presumptive positive result. So the guy did the test wrong and then misinterpreted the results that he got from the bad test. Now, not surprisingly, this case didn't hold up under further testing. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation concluded on November 17, 2015, that the powder in the Stressball was not cocaine. However, the state didn't dismiss the charges against her until March, during which time she remained incarcerated. The 11th Circuit, affirming the lower court ruling, held that the 2 police officers are not entitled to qualified immunity from the lawsuit because there is no genuine factual dispute over whether she was jaywalking and whether the field test results returned positive results. So apparently they're saying that she wasn't jaywalking, that is the court, and the results were not positive. So the woman was jailed, in essence, just due to sheer incompetence at least, and possibly more. But we'll start with just sheer incompetence. The lawsuit, like many of the court battles over these tests, sidesteps the fundamental issue, which is that police officers are over-relying on and misinterpreting these field tests to create probable cause to arrest people and jail them for months. And keep in mind, again, that the guy did the test wrong. Then he got results that he misinterpreted. Then they said, okay, we're locking you up because of that. And it's not just a simple mistake. There are tests out there where it'll come back and say, this is inconclusive. And the guy got what appears to not even be, vague results. It was not a positive result. And this is something that is a binary proposition. It is up, down, yes, no, black or white. There is no gray area. Either it is the contraband or it is not the contraband. And we know now that it was sand. So unless somebody got the sand on some beach that's made up out of whatever they thought this was, it's a bad result. So there are problems with the way they do this, and they put too much stock in what appears to be a shaky test at best. So Paul, thanks for sending the story, and it's good to see that the cops do not get qualified immunity here. And going forward, every case we get where they do not get qualified immunity, when they've done something that you look at and go, that's obviously wrong. Obviously wrong. And again, for the few people out there who like to just knee-jerk respond, defend the cops. How do you defend the cops who saw a stress ball, cut it open, and thought the sand was drugs, tested it wrong, got a weak result, misinterpreted that result, and then threw her in jail? And then when the results came back from the lab saying, no, we came back with a good result of negative. We tested this properly. That's sand. They left her in jail for a couple more months. So this sounds to me like what we call a righteous lawsuit, and I'll watch to see what happens. But I got to thank the people at Reason.com for doing great work on this stuff, including CJ Cermella. Cops thought sand from her stress ball was cocaine. Spent nearly 6 months in jail. Turns out it was sand that the cops had mistested. Questions or comments? Put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. It's hard to predict things, especially about the future. Now, where's my crystal ball?